approximately about 7:18 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order in the Slade Building. A reminder to all that the meeting is recorded and broadcast, so we can keep our comments appropriate. Next thing on the agenda is approval of April 22nd's minutes. I make a motion that we approve the minutes as read.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Approved. End of this pen. Looks gross. COVID-19 flu maven update. There's nothing to report on that subject. However, it's time to think about ticks, and mosquitoes are just now hatching. So under that category, we'll comment that people should take caution at dusk and dawn for tick bites. If they're attached to you less than 24 hours, it's highly unlikely you would get Lyme if they did have it. The best way to get the tick off of you is to use a little spliced tool and rotate it counterclockwise and unscrews it. And so that way the little nose piece of the tick will not stay attached to you, and then use like a triple Neosporin type antibiotic on the spot for 2 or 3 days, and it generally clears up real well. If it doesn't, if you get a rash or a bullseye or anything else, go see your doctor. And those are the general guidelines. Of course, if you're willing to use sprays, spray your pants as far, and shoes up to knee height, because they tend to be lower to the ground for ticks. Black flies are biting right now, so wear netting. We've got all those creatures coming out right now. And that's about it. The cases of measles in Texas is still increasing and has crossed over to another state adjacent. Hesitant to say, I want to say Oklahoma, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. But they have crossed, and the number of cases are still slowly increasing. Okay, on to the next item. Our Title V reports and perk tests. Let's see. Oh, let me take 1 minute and sign the official minutes. One of the duties as chair is everything is signed as approved. And the reason we do this is it's a permanent record, and it so well organized. The first one is Title V for Moosehorn Hills Circle, and it fails. Let's see. Okay, their D-box was overloaded. There's evidence of sewage backup. And determined that there's a failure in the drainage field. Okay. I'm gonna pass this way. Maybe you two could squish together so we can look at the reports together. Title V is a review of a septic system. Oftentimes, prior to someone wanting to put their property up for sale, or if they think they have a problem. The landowner pays for that. They get their own inspector to come in that has the license to do that. The second one is 4 Laurel Road, and it passes. And it's multiple pages. Drawings on the back. And we review these because every once in a while we find something that maybe doesn't follow the guidelines. Or that not necessarily checked or something, and then we can say, take this back, get more information, and so on. All these guidelines are provided by the state, and these inspectors have state licenses as well to do this job. Here in Hubbardston, almost everyone has a well, so it's very specific, and private septic. So there's very specific guidelines for those kinds of systems in Massachusetts. Third one for tonight is Title V at 55 Hale Road, and it passes.
Pictures. Box.
Okay, so this one only has, this last one, for example, 55 Hale Road, has one resident, so 1,000-gallon tank, part of your system. But no issues. Everything was measured. A lot of times we actually like hand-drawn. diagrams because it means the inspector has actually gone out and measured everything. And, okay, it's just recently. Okay, that one looks good as well. So then we also sign off on these.
Oh, 55 big.
Next is 7 Morgan Road. And we had requested a second water test on this property from the last meeting. There's the results right there. And this one is for a new construction. We, typically when a well is dug, they do a water test at the well. But
Mhm.
once construction is done, we ask that they have a second water test done. We call it the kitchen water test, so that they know that the water is safe to drink once it's in the house, and specifically on new construction. Okay. And I'm signing off. So, in the past, a number of years ago, when everything is all done, a certificate of compliance is filed, and it's signed off by our sanitarian. But I also double check that everything's okay, and then I sign off on them too. It's a checks and balances kind of thing. There had been some prior to, when did Nancy start? 22, about 2021, that were never reviewed at a Board of Health meeting, so we're just like, the policy is, I co-sign everything, every certificate of compliance. This will allow them to occupy the property. Wastewater tests for Briarwood Townhomes, ongoing thing. At one point after our last meeting, a email was returned from the contact at Briarwood Townhomes asking why are we concerned about having this done, and Nancy responded that we are following up for the safety of the residents, because they had some deficits when the state had come in and done an inspection, cause they're like, well, we haven't been inspected by the state in a long time. I'm like, when they come in, we follow up, cause that's our job. Once they come in and do an inspection of a system and there's a problem, then it sits on our responsibility shoulders to follow up on it. So says that they're gonna get late May for another inspection set. That's where we're at now. So it's still, nothing's been done, but we'll see if everything turns out okay. Okay.
So is the intent is the state would inspect first?
In some types of septic systems, they're automatically a state inspection. For example, at the new town offices, that's a very specific, now I can't think of the term, what type system it is, and that one is one that's inspected by a state organization type thing, and then we follow up if there's issues to see that its compliance occurs, if there were problems. Now, everything was good when the town bought that property last year, but the year prior to that, there were some deficits in the system. They needed a monitor replaced and some kind of pipe, as I recall. And so we followed through here locally to see that that was done. The state only comes in, like once a year or once every 2 years. These townhouses, it's been like 5. I don't, it is what it is. So that's locally how it's been, like, the state does one part of it and they'll come back and check, but it's to our benefit to make sure that that wherever that location is has made the corrections that were needed.
Mhm.
It's really for the safety of the water, drinking water, because we're all private out here, and septics have got to work right so that water can't get, and
Contaminated.
waterways can't get contaminated and everything else. So that's always been on our shoulders to really follow through on.
Okay.
And, it's not like we made them do it overnight. This report that was done by the state was almost a year ago now. We're not giving up on it. We're just like, this has to be done. Okay, the next area that we are in charge of are a variety of permits, from septic haulers to campgrounds to kitchens. And by signing these, you are saying that we don't take a vote on each one. As you sign, you're stating that you approve. We have, first one is Watadic Septic Tank Service, septic hauler permit. We collect a certain amount of fees every year. Let's see, make sure it says. Okay. Every once in a while we get them sending in a form that doesn't say that it, and I don't know where they get them from. Oh, there it is. It is the expiration date. They're only yearly permits. The second one is Peaceful Acres Campground with a pool permit. campground has a pool, they're required to do testing regularly and keep the records, and then when I go out and inspect, I check those. The third one is Fried Guys, a one-day permit for the Hubbardston Fair, which is June 7th. Fourth one is What a Bakery, which I already signed. It came in for the Alpaca Farm Festival that they had early May. But the rest of you can sign off on it. Everything's fine. Okay. We have one primitive campground permit for Cauldron Farm Campground, and they were,
So, for the campgrounds with pool,
yes,
I remember the last time we reviewed some information coming from the pool test.
right.
So this is not required as part of the permit process?
No, because they haven't opened up yet.
Okay,
She
so
won't
it will be
open till
after
Memorial
anyways.
Day,
Okay,
knowing the campground.
right.
So at that point, yes, then we'll need all those reports. Yep. She doesn't open till Memorial Day, so, she's getting older like the rest of us, and, she used to have a kitchen, and, you know, they have big game room and stuff at this campground. She's no longer providing any kitchen services, so she didn't pay for that this year. And that's fine. She can make changes as needed. Yeah, what you're looking at is the form that they fill out here. Okay? Oftentimes with the one-day permits, they also have a license from another town, which is why for town fair, we only charge $20. Don't wanna beat them over the head with fees. And then, of course, they have to pay to participate in the fair too, so. I usually do a 5-minute inspection, which we don't charge for. But it keeps everybody on their toes, cause they know I'm gonna come around. And, if I see something wrong, I just tell them and make them fix it on the spot. Don't do this, or that looks great, or you shouldn't have that on the grass, you know, without having plastic down, or whatever it might be. It's minor usually. But, as I tell the vendors, I'm like, I'm doing this to protect you, because if you do it right, then you don't have people getting sick from whatever
And
you're
you
selling.
would pay for someone to sue, so.
Yes, so I'm actually eyes and ears to keep them on their best behavior. I'm not out to hurt them. I'm out for everybody to have a good time and for them to make some money. Okay, the next one is Cauldron Farm Campground, which I had already signed, because she was gonna have a few people over one weekend. Oh, I signed it again, well anyways. Tink's Rumpus Kitchen, 3 Forest Drive, Hubbardston. Okay, add that one to my list to inspect.
Interesting name.
Ice Cream and More Mobile Truck. They don't have any permit, inspection or information from Gardner, so we're not signing this one tonight, cause it's not attached,
Okay.
didn't come in, so it'll be on, so hold.
That's the Baptist Common one?
I'm
Oh,
talking
no. Yeah,
Maddie's
Maddie's
Ice Cream. I'm ahead of you, and I keep
Yeah, you
shuffling
are,
around.
yeah.
Hold to sign at next meeting. That in the pile, not signed.
So is this like a, stand where food is gonna be? Food will be a stand, this
It could be,
residential
it
kitchen?
could be, or they could just go to various, create a ranch and set up a booth.
Oh, okay.
Or
I
they
see.
could go to a farmer's market,
Okay,
but they want a residential kitchen license in order to make things in their home legally and then sell them direct sale.
I
A
see.
residential kitchen license is direct sales only, you cannot wholesale and resell it another place.
Okay.
In other words, make it and then have like, Giacomo's sell it. Can't do that with a residential kitchen,
I see.
unless you have a special state amended permit. There's a special category, and we do have one of those in Hubbardston. I can't think of her name right off the top of my head. I'm sure we already signed it. So there's different levels of licensing. If you're in town, a water report has to be included yearly. Again, because we're all wells, we have safe water. Because I'm a board member, I do not get paid for doing inspections. It's a conflict of interest, cause I also sign the permits. But I can do the inspections and do the reports, on a volunteer basis, which I have been doing for probably 6 or 7 years for food and stuff. Okay. Where are we now? CMC Construction. Oh. Is this out of order? Did I pass around the construction permit?
Not yet.
Oh, it's right in front of me. Jeez. I pulled it out. See test results and email. Email from Phil. Okay, where's the email from Phil? 26 Worcester Road. Oh, okay, that's, you can't see. So I have a question for you board members. Many times Nancy will email both Phil, our sanitarian, and me, cause I review some of these things on the side. Maybe we should include you guys so you start to see all that flow of
I agree.
information.
Yeah.
I was thinking that's probably a good idea, because, my term is coming up to a close fairly soon, and, I did not run again, so, let me make a note.
And obviously, part of our email chain, back and forth, these are all subject to public record.
Yes,
Yeah.
so.
We'll make sure people know that.
So, if it comes from Nancy and you reply back, then it's not considered a conflict, a public meeting, but via email.
Correct.
However, if I do anything more than send out, oh, the meeting couldn't be held last night, can we make it tonight? And send it to everybody, it would be considered public email, and follow all laws of
Well,
open meetings,
Yes,
So
basically
it's-
subject to public record.
subject to public
Right,
record, correct.
Right.
So, the chain of sending things is, if we have a question, send it directly to Nancy, who then sends it to everybody, other than, what night are we having a meeting, that doesn't matter. And she will send it to everyone, and then it's considered, not a public meeting thing, but, and doesn't have to follow those guidelines.
Right. Just wanna make sure people
Yeah.
understand that.
It's a little tricky, but because at one point we were trying, during COVID, we had, separate computers, and trying to send everything to those computers and not to a personal email, and everybody was just so busy, we didn't do that. We ended up looking at it on our own emails. And under state law, if something came up and there was a case of some kind, all our phones could be confiscated, / emails that were appropriate to anything that had to do with a case. So, the proper way to handle emails, unless it's just Judy to me or me to you, but if not to everybody on the board. Individual questions back and forth is fine, as long as we're not trying to decide something, just informational. But if it's something that the group should decide on other than meeting nights, then it should come from Nancy out to everybody. And that, it's just a funky stipulation to protect open meeting rules. I hope I explained that well.
Yeah, good.
I'm not sure, sometimes I
Yeah.
get myself twisted up. Alright, so we have, an installer's permit. The last permit that will be coming around shortly is, for Ron Burton's, overnight camp. Runs in June through August. He has a multi-week session for boys, then he has one multi-week session for girls. And, so he has pool, he has 2 kitchens there. It's just phenomenal what Ron Burton does, for the kids. Brings them from the inner city of Boston out, and, they stay there, and, it's really nice. And it's a quiet, unknown thing out here, and he owns all the land, and so on and so forth. He was a huge basketball player years ago with the Celtics, and, well-known person who's very quiet about it in our town that does a wonderful thing. And so coming around, put this in the back. This is food establishment permit. I'm gonna turn them perpendicular to each other. And this campground with a pool permit. Another one? Nope, that's it. And they start after school lets out and sometime in June. There's two on that one to sign. Next, we do have a report. I've asked Nancy to try and send emails to our major trash haulers to send us the quarterly tonnage reports because they are supposed to be doing that. And we did get one from Waste Management. And they have, looks like 56 customers in town. And then just their numbers.
Question, I think you were mentioning something earlier regarding the email that Nancy sent out, so we don't need that report, you're saying? The E. coli and the coliform.
It's, on the back, he didn't, I think she made a note to him, he's gonna, we will hold his permit until he gets it in.
Okay.
I think there it's on that email. No? Yes?
It says, this email only includes unless it's in that one.
Okay, let me make a note on the front of that email when we pass it around to hold it. Thank you for catching that. That's why there's multiple of us on the committee, 'cause good catch. Thank you. I'll put that on the front of that and then we'll be good. Again,
Yeah, so
for
we
the,
can, yeah, we can have that, it goes with that one, right, yeah.
yeah, but we keep it all together.
Okay.
Is there an expired serve safe? June. Nancy usually checks those.
Yeah, this one says, 2024,
Is there another new one in front of
so
it?
let me see, this the allergen one, again, 2024, so
Okay,
let me see.
1, 2.
Yeah, because obviously it's residential, they're gonna be serving, it is a food permit,
Right.
yeah,
Expired serve safe license.
yeah, they have Vincent Williams,
Renew
with res-
before,
yeah, it's expired 24,
renew before, permits mailed.
yeah, something,
Oh, got it.
yeah,
Do you wanna keep these together?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, alright.
Yeah, we'll keep them all together.
Okay, got it.
And I got the notes on the front. we can sign off with the stipulation that the water test and the serve safe comes through.
See that?
Before, yep, good catch, thank you. And here's the wastewater.
This is true.
And the notes on the agendas, I'll end up typing the minutes.
You know, I expect more from waste management folks when they're sending report like this. So what is the intent of asking for the tonnage report?
Ultimately, if we get it from the three main trash haulers we have in town,
RV and Republic.
and Waste Management are the major ones. The idea is if, well, one thing, at the end of the year, the state asks, how much went to landfills? How much was recycled? What that report doesn't show is recycling.
It doesn't show recycling.
No.
Right.
So we need to ask for that, I think, again, under, and also because the state has a mandate, if you will, to reduce
Waste in the
waste,
Yeah.
period, and reuse, recycle more. And by, it's part of our bylaws because that's what the state wants. We have to meet the state minimum, and it's in our bylaws to ask for this quarterly from everybody. And of course, we can't enforce any specific penalties other than to say, if you don't submit these routinely and there's other issues from townsfolk, we have the right not to renew your permit next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the way I was asking it, it's more like, if you're gonna send me,
I know, that's very brief.
well, yeah, I mean, you just copy and paste an Excel file, and you tell me what this, to me, I would like to see a report generated, documented, having someone review it and sign it, and give it to us, as opposed to
Them just saying.
randomly just cut a this is obviously, you know, they
Yep.
they just
They just-
copy and paste this, and
Yep.
saying, oh, there it is, we're gonna start Hubbardston in there.
Right,
So the next one, I don't know, I can send it to Princeton, just remove Hubbardston, send Princeton, and so
right.
it doesn't look legit to me. But, yeah, I mean, we can require them to actually give us a more formal document, in my opinion, on this. Moving forward, so every year they have to supply this, or?
Quarterly.
Quarterly.
Is the rule. And it's random when we actually get them. Last year, E.L. Harvey was very good and sent them pretty much 3 out of 4 quarters. I don't think we got the 4th quarter. And that might have been in the middle of the year or something. Republic is chronically an issue, company not sending us reports. And it's almost like we need an auto email that goes out. Please get this report in, and on this report, we want, like you said, not only tonnage, but, recycling. And I would say where you're taking it to. I'd like to know where this all goes. That would be my interest. Where are they taking it? From Hubbardston, where does it go? So that would be one thing I would ask, just out of curiosity, to know. Not that, there hasn't been issues with the big companies, but 8 years ago, 7, 9, there was a small hauler, and, Grapevine conversation, found out that he was an illegal hauler, cause he was dumping it in not appropriate. So, I wasn't chair back then and stuff, and that little company was reported to the state, and we let the state handle it. That must have been about 9 years ago. Okay. So we want, ask also. Ask also for amounts recycled. And 2, where trash and recycling is taken. 'Cause that kinda gives you the full picture from the beginning to the end of this little story of picking up trash. I made a note on that. Oh boy, it's for amounts recycled. Sorry, I have to write this twice so I can get it in the minutes. Okay. Then we go to open septic plans and engineering plans review. First one is 58 Hale Road. Here's a chart for you. Chart for you. And this is for new construction. Okay, I have to come over to you. Woohoo, my knees work. I had cortisone shots the other week. My knees work again.
Shots are working.
They are. It's great. Proposed well. Proposed 3-bedroom dwelling. That'll be the D box, right? And the septic out there, drainage. And this is for 3 bedrooms, 1,500 gallon tank for 3 bedrooms. Tank. Oh, is that the tank right there? Oh, there's the tank. The D box is closer to the house. So you have a house, then you have a D box, and then you have a septic tank, and then off in the distance you have a drainage field. And the drainage and septic all has to be a minimum of 100 feet from the radius of the well, wherever the well is going in. Where's the property?
Where?
Up there.
That seems like it's right there.
Okay. 58 Hale Road. Okay. Okay, so there's space out there for this to happen. Prepared for Catherine Miller.
that's
Our sanitarian who
Right.
inspected it.
Right.
He goes out on every perk test as a witness per state law. For a while, we didn't have a, sanitarian. In order to keep, of course, there wasn't as much construction going on back then. So 2018, 19, 17, another board member and I, but it mostly was me, I would go out and act as a witness to the test, which you can do under state law if you don't have a sanitarian. It's best to have a sanitarian. And that's how I learned. I mean, I know dirt because I'm a farmer, and I know different kinds of dirt, and I know what I'm looking at, but that's how I learned what, and the local septic perk test septic installers were very nice to kindly educate me, but they also wanted to be able to do the work, so I did, and I always just signed it, I was a witness to so-and-so's test. So, that's where my experience came on that. I do not want to get my degree in sanitarian license, not interested. The other way. Okay. Sign that we both of them. Next one, Moose Horn Hill Circle, which one? Building 2. Condo. And this is repair.
That's not number 4, Moose Horn Hill.
So there's a central building. I wonder if it's their common building. Look and see where Phil signed it. Hold on. Ah, there it is. Looks like 2 different signatures. Okay. Here's one plan and 2 plans. Sign off on these. Am I right that it's for a common building, or is it not clear?
It is my number, so.
A 2-unit type.
It seems like that's the entire, yeah, there's multiple units in here. Yep, 2 units.
So the individual condos have their, cause we had one that failed, their own septics off the backs, cause they're like a 2-unit and then 2-unit, and they each have, I know, cause I've been out there. Yeah, I'm curious as to exactly where that is.
It's, they call it building number 2.
Oh, building number 2, okay.
So each building shares a septic. Okay.
Okay, that's that one. So it's 2 Moose Horns. Oh dear. Did I
still a 1,500 gallon septic tank for the two,
Is it?
for the two,
Units,
units,
maximum of 4 people maybe?
total of 4 bedrooms,
Okay, that's still,
1,500.
Yep.
Got it.
I have a question.
yeah,
So the border is like here and it's like half in it and half not. Like how does that count for like
You mean this right here?
yeah, if that's the tank and this is the well border then like isn't it technically within the border or?
Which
Hmm.
part is she referring to? I mean, which property we're talking about?
the well, is it a well radius?
She's asking.
There's a well
Yeah.
radius right there.
And it's
In
like
this
it cuts
box.
through the box.
I don't think they actually finished the diagram, cause this arc would go this way. It's
Yeah,
very
but-
close to it.
Yeah, but this is
Okay.
still within the boundary, right?
Here's the
Yeah.
100-foot radius, and it's this one right
Right,
here,
right.
which goes that way around. It's right on the edge.
Oh, okay.
See what
I
I'm
see
saying?
It now. Yeah,
Yeah.
the what it's
There's
just the one
just-
with the arrow, right?
They only drew part of the. Oh, there's
Yep,
a well
I know.
radius that way. Oh, it does. Look at that. We've got this one. We've got this one. This one goes this way. And this interjects right there. Existing proposed, existing proposed. So what they're going to do with the trenches is the biggest, is they're going to, they had 1, 2, 3 existing trenches, and they're putting in additional ones.
But again, you still fall away from the wells.
Yeah, it is right on the edge.
Okay.
And probably when this was originally approved, they got a waiver that allows you to do that. You can issue a waiver. This is a repair, so
So back
assuming
when
if
they
we
did
go
do
back,
it, okay.
which you can look up in one of those files we're gonna ask you to move, for this address, there's a folder for it, you could look up and see the original approval on this. That's why we hang on to those. They've all, most of those records have been put in onto Laserfiche, however, Laserfiche is this big. This is this big, and you can see details where on this normal paper size, it's hard to find the details. So we as a board made a decision a couple years ago that we wanted to hang on to all this stuff because, and this is what the state did back in 1998 or 89, I don't remember which numbers, was that they had to do these big maps so that it was easily visible as to what was really going on. And the state came up with this plan, either 89 or 98, 89 I think, was quite a ways back. I only know that because it came up in some discussions somewhere. But yes, if this was new construction, they'd have to get a waiver.
Okay. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Good question though.
Adams?
8 Adams Road, we're still waiting on a signature. Wait a minute, hold on, did he come in? They sign? They did, okay. Okay. Stick Nancy's notes inside.
And this is for a repair?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Okay, check that one off. Except that I need the space. Over.
But if it's a repair, they're replacing the septic tank.
Yes, it failed.
Okay, okay,
It
got
had
it,
failed.
got it.
The tank failed. Was old or something, possibly. Tell you that in a minute. Let me look here. So we just did the septic. Title V. Let's see. There was static liquid in the D box. And some part of the SAS. No, that doesn't count. Never mind. Oh yeah, there was a backup of sewage. So that this drainage field like may have failed as well.
So mainly, I guess this is part of variance to reduce the minimum separation. Because they have an estimated high ground. The 4 feet separation required.
Do they have that? They do not have that. What are the details? So all the red marks are from our sanitarian signature signing every.
Yeah, so things actually, so yeah, we put something, so basically the entire septic tank is gonna be replaced, but the system is staying intact.
Right.
Right.
Recommend rises to grade.
Right, because that's part of the variance, you know. They're gonna move this up,
Yes,
get closer to the grade.
to the surface.
Surface.
So, over time, sometimes
Sink.
things sink.
Mhm.
And get too deep. And that makes sense.
There's the 4 feet separation.
This design was made by, who designed this? Oh, New England Environmental. They do a lot of them, existing leach field and any unsuitable materials are to be removed per Title V. So they're gonna improve both the tank and the leach field by those notes. Okay,
So once installed, I mean, once the repair is done, they provide a pass report to come back to us, right?
so Phil signs off that he's seen everything was completed. He goes back out for multiple
Okay.
review. And does not come back to the board other than I sign off on the compliance
Okay.
form. That's the review, instead of the full board looking that, yeah, Phil, our sanitarian, reviewed the final before they bury everything. You go out and you do the final inspection before it's buried, see everything's right. He signs a certificate of compliance, which means they're done. And I double check that, simply that he has signed it, knowing that we do trust him completely to go back out and do it. So, from beginning to end, you have a piece of property. First thing you gotta do is figure out where the house, the well, and stuff's gonna be. Then you have someone come in and do a perk test. That's to test the soil to see what kind of drainage is available. And there's standards, you know, if it's sand, it could be too fast. If it's clay, it could be too slow. You could be on the wrong side of a hill and it could be all wet. You can't be near wetlands. So you check all that, and they do 2 holes, and you pour water in specific amount of times, and then the next step, you develop where that leach field's gonna be based on the perk test. Sometimes the second perk test is done because that one site was no good, so they do another one based on the property. And then, you know, then you get they get builder's permits and everything with the fact that the well's gonna be here, the house is gonna be here, the driveway has to be here, the access to the town roads are such and such. So it goes before Travis, the DPW, for the sign off for the driveway to the town, accessing a town road. Obviously you gotta connect. The building inspector looks at everything that's related to building. The Board of Health looks at everything that's related to water and septic. And electrical and all that stuff is under building. The fire chief inspects, does a house inspection for all, smoke detectors and stuff like that too. So like, there's a full process.
Yeah.
It's a full process, and, we're just one piece of it. It's an important piece because of the fact that it's all wells and septic around here. But we're not the only piece. And the last one
Landfill.
is 7 Williamsville Road. So septic systems will last a very long time if you pump out your tanks regularly. 2 to 3 years. Get your tank pumped out, you know, that keeps everything from building up and plugging up and so on and so forth. Allows leach fields to do their job and so on. The biggest problem is people don't do that always and run into huge problems, needing repairs.
And if they flush those wipes,
Oh,
like diaper
no.
wipes, that's not good.
We had
You
a
know,
huge issue in my dorm over the diaper wipes.
Yeah, no, that'll block it up.
They had to put signs on all the doors. It was like,
Oh, yeah,
Guys.
no, they say flushable on them, but they're not when you have septic.
Okay, this one, 7 Williamsville Road, is a septic repair. there's 3 of them.
Three
I
of
get
them.
to look at my own.
Let's see what's happening here. Mansfield Road. They have some trees removed. Mm.
Oh. I believe this is the house with the barn that is owned by Country Hen. Did you go out Williamsville Road at all to know that?
I have been by that before.
On the left?
Yeah.
Oh, I know where this is. I come up this way.
You come from,
Yeah, I went up, so I come this way, but sometimes we've taken a wrong turn a few times this way and past the Country Hen.
Well, you keep going. That way you come to my place. Wait a minute. Mine hasn't been signed off by Phil. So. So they are doing.
Three miles.
100 feet. So that house, it's a very old house, has 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, it's very similar thing that they're gonna be doing with this one, almost.
Raising it up, cause it was buried too deep. Yeah, the house is like from 1800s. Inspection report, trees removed. Okay.
Pretty standard.
New tank up here and going this way. 111 feet to the back of the property. Okay, that's fine.
So they have 3 wells.
Yeah. I have 2 wells on my property.
Actually, I have 2.
Actually, I have 3 wells on
I
my
have 2.
property.
One.
One was the original shallow well from the 1700s. Then the next one was put in when the Cape Cod was built. And apparently there was way too much iron at that level. So when the last guy before me bought the farm and added on, making it a 4-bedroom, he went down an extra 150 feet for better water.
times we have our own light and water company.
Yeah. Different kind of situation. Alright.
Alright.
Oh my goodness, good thing we had a meeting. If we didn't next month and
Oh.
skip to the next one, it would have been
Oh,
forever,
yeah.
it would have been too long. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Sign my life away here. What's next?
Old business.
Old business.
Inspections, starting them next week. No meetings, no doctor's appointments, I'll start inspections next week. Zoo permit. I don't know if she included the rewording. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm looking at the minutes, sorry, confusing myself. So inspections will start next week. Metal recycling is this Saturday, 10 to
Mhm.
1,
Mhm.
rain or shine. I hope that y'all can help me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's 10 to 1, we
Yep.
said? Okay,
Bring gloves, rain boots, working clothes.
yeah, I'll be there. I'm gonna bring my daughter, she's interested in helping me,
That's
Yep.
awesome.
volunteering.
Yeah, I'm not around, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
as long as there's a couple of us, most of the time, we, the people who bring stuff help too, to put it in. We have this huge dumpster, as long as through the walls to the outside there. And then we recycle it to Templeton Salvage and get some money back. It's mixed metals, tanks, engines, no oil, no gas.
Is the salvage the one by Narragansett?
No,
No, okay.
not that close. Anyways, in regards to that, I called Travis today to remind him that we're having it this Saturday, and he asked if we would pay for a construction dumpster. They've been picking up roadside dump things that have been dumped, and that's how we use our recycling money, is to, for a while, we actually had a dumpster there constantly, but then the fees that the company was charging went up over 25% in a month, and then they went up again, so we had them take it, and so I have to look into, I first have to ask for your approval as we take a motion, I make a motion to use some of our recycling money to bring in a construction dumpster for 1 month so that they can clean up the pile that has accumulated at the DPW. And I will call our 3 haulers and see who, and also a couple other smaller haulers that that are in the area, and see who has the best price. Then Travis also asked that we look at and find out more about, and maybe I'll ask you to do that. There's a partial old trailer that has electronics in it, like old computers and TVs and stuff. So that'll be another thing, is to have you look into how we can get rid of that and clean that up. So one of those trailers he could use as storage for a variety of things that they use at DPW without asking for more buildings or anything else. Because it's an old trailer. And then the third thing is they've had tires. And they've been picking up tires from ditches and other stuff. And so I will check with Templeton Salvage to see, cause they take tires. And maybe we'll just offset whatever we get for our metal recycling this spring, cause we do it twice a year, to pay for hauling them taking the tires that they've picked up. People have just thrown off the side of the road or off along the side of the railroad tracks. Cause people do that. So, if that's okay with everyone, we'll go. So I make a motion, sorry, long story, back to full circle, to, take some of the funds from the recycling balance that we have, and use it towards, a construction dumpster which allows all kinds of mixed trash, for 1 month, so that they can clean up what's accumulated over the last 9 or 10 months.
So of course the trash that we're referring to would be like things that DPW picked up along the road.
Yeah, a couch, side tables, whatever people leave sitting there for like 6 months and then they look like, you know,
So
that would interfere with, rainwater drainage and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So in essence, this is how we kind of
Fulfill
that aspect from health standpoint, because I guess my curiosity was, why is the fund for the recycling is being used
That's what we're
in that
using.
instance is what it's for?
And that's kind of what we're using it for. And on a small scale in our own town is to help keep it a little bit cleaner.
Okay.
And it gives easy access for people to get rid of, pop-up tent metal frames and lawn furniture that they're tired of and old grills, chicken wire, you name it.
But no mattresses.
No mattresses. No. So, is that acceptable to everyone? To use recycling money for a 1 month construction dumpster?
So this is Kathy's motion. I second.
Alright, I'll approve.
Aye.
Okay, motion to take recycling money. Okay. For construction. And I'll just work with Travis to figure out who, when, where, what. It'll get done soon, before summer. And recycle tires they picked up. Okay, and, as the intern, you'll be starting June 5th. Would you please fully introduce yourself?
My name is Victor. I use they them pronouns, and I am a interdisciplinary studies major with focuses in public health and biology at Pittsburgh State University.
And thank you for accepting to come help us out.
Yeah, I can come to the next one too. I'm pretty sure. So
Great, you're always welcome to come to the meetings. Document your time, cause it can count towards your hours.
Okay.
If we need that, like,
Do you want me to document like this meeting or?
yeah, you got here at
Okay.
7 and, yeah, and you can count that towards your hours if you need to.
Okay.
If we don't have it written, if you don't write it down.
Yeah, if I don't need it, then it's.
Yeah, but if you do need it, we've got it,
Yeah.
okay?
Thank you.
Victor, what's your last name?
Brusso. BRUSO.
Okay,
I noticed in the last thing we had, the connection between the school was through Nicole. Who's Nicole?
she was, an interviewer that set, part of
Okay.
the program that set up the internships.
Okay, so you went through a process for interviewing for the school.
Yeah, I had
yes.
to do a like big Google form thing, and then I got a phone interview, and then I got an email saying that I was approved.
Yeah, so the state that's running this program is doing it, how many applicants, 500?
I think so. Like,
And,
it's a big pool.
yeah, and, I forget how many sites, I apologize, I should know that. And so they had 2 staff people to work on it.
No,
Oh,
'cause
awesome.
it,
And
like,
then it's overseen by a 3rd manager.
this was
ladder.
the only one I applied to, but there was like sites all over Massachusetts.
Yeah, they
and you
are.
could have applied to multiple ones.
Right, and, I was hopeful to get a second intern, and she chose a different site.
Ah.
So we only have 1 intern. We were
Okay.
hoping to have 2
Alright,
because there were, more applicants than there were locations at the time.
very good, well, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
The scanner plotter proposal, so here's what's come up. It was to be, we approved at the last meeting to cover 1/3. However, one of the 3 committees declined to participate,
Which one is that?
planning. They already, because they already received digital copies for everything they do. The reason we're looking at a larger scanner is because of these septic forms. And so, it was priced out and I forget, now I've lost track of the other committee that did approve. In any case, I'm bringing this back to our attention to, see if we will approve covering half the cost from our revolving account funds instead of 1/3. Now, in the minutes, what did we have listed as
I don't think we have anything in the minute that we refer to.
on the
one.
amount?
So, in essence, actually, we never really voted for it. Yeah.
No, we were waiting for some
We
more.
were waiting for some more
Oh,
information. Yeah, I think,
And I still don't see the price, I
Right.
thought oh, here it is. The total cost of the device is $2,645. And, so the Conservation Commission approved, we tentatively approved verbally with questions about maintenance and ink and stuff. So I will say that I suggest that we, still get the answers to these questions, cause I don't,
yeah, the warranty
it's
questions.
3-year warranty,
Right.
which we can also extend. Maintenance costs will be shared, just like everything else. Trish says I will use the same account I use for BB Mason orders, or if one department will be using the printing function more than others, they will be asked to pay for the ink. Here are the answers.
So they're gonna track who uses it more, and that's gonna be the person that pays for the ink. Is that how it works? But that's what I'm getting from there.
Yes, that's what it says.
I mean, I guess fair is fair, right?
Right. They're being fair, being honest. It's a 3-year
I'm
warranty
just
that
curious
could be-
how you're gonna track that, that's all.
It's gonna be simple if it's just the 2 committees.
Sure. I might sound stingy on this printer.
So,
Or
yeah, the printer itself is a
What do we need the printer?
24-inch wireless printer with integrated scanner. It's so that all these septic engineering plans can be scanned in,
Yep.
go on, and then sent to Laserfiche. And Nancy also has a stack of things that need scanning, so there's another task we hope to employ
When
you
I
with.
was drum major, I spent a good like 60% of my time is drum meter scanning, so
So,
very familiar with the scanner.
There's, sorry, we're getting you to help with things that there's not enough people to do. And thank you for being so agreeable
I
about
don't
all
mind.
this.
Like they asked me when I did the interview. They were like, "How do you feel about like documenting and like spreadsheets and Excel and stuff?" And I was like, "I love that stuff." So
There you go, that's good.
So we can take a vote tonight if we want, because we do have the answers. Maintenance will be shared, ink will be, it's mostly to be used as a scanner, so the amount of ink is, they have another printer for printing. So it's mostly to be for a scanner, so the ink costs should be limited. And the warranty is 3 years. We would be required to cover $1,322.50. I think that's half of $2,645. I would like to make a motion as that the Board of Health approve half the cost of the Epson SureColor T3170M 24-inch wireless printer with integrated scanner. Do I hear a second?
Again?
All in favor?
Aye.
And it will come from the revolving account. Approved. For 1/2. Okay. New business, EDS plan, I'm tabling that.
Yep.
Zoo permit application, I'm tabling that. However, I did notice in the paper that, Animal Adventures had an event Monday. So as an inspector, I will make a visit shortly to see where they stand, as a business, and then we'll go forward from there. No new complaints, turnovers. Okay. Oh, here's the application, I apologize, she did type it. Jeez. There it is,
Application for the permit?
for the zoos, yeah. She's so thorough and I didn't even bother to look, sorry about that, guys. We will not take any unexpected subjects tonight.
Nope.
Okay, then we have turnovers, amounts. Oh, I don't wanna write on that. Might be an original. Payments to the treasurer and where they go, there's one. These are all varieties of fees that have been collected, and, which accounts they go into. Certain fees we take in, and then, say for a kitchen license, we collect X amount plus an inspection fee. Of the X amount, 25% is given to the general fund of the town, so that the Board of Health helps pay for advancing and electricity and whatever else, holding the meetings. The inspection does not get divided, cause that's, right now, I have to do it for free, but, you know, at some point, if I'm not on the board, they can pay me. So that's, so you'll see color coded, so that it's clear as to, and here's the other two. These are not bills, these are deposits, and on what accounts they're going into. Just so we know what's happening for the various things that, you know, the 1-day permits and so on.
This is great. She's very organized, love it.
Yes, this system has been in place for a very long time, and only by using the designation of the split fee collection. That's why the color coding makes it so much simpler.
Yep.
We did, 3 years ago now, have issues of monies going to wrong accounts. No. Water under the bridge, spilled milk, can't collect it anymore. So, it was what it was.
Alright. You say you wanna bring in an unexpected subject, huh?
Nope,
Okay.
unless there's this long.
No, next week, we need to find a way to squeeze in discussion about membership of you retiring.
If you know anyone that's interested in
I'm-
town,
I'm looking at, well, that's not even what I'm concerned about. I'm looking at the year for, everyone terms is ending this year, right? We wanna make sure we don't have any risk of ensuring continuity.
Diana's running
But
again.
you're running again, right? Okay.
You're on.
Yeah, I know, I'm the
Judy's
only
on,
one
so
that's.
the quorum is there
Okay, so Judy is on until June 2026.
for another year, yeah.
Okay.
That's the minimum. Now, if you know anybody that you can,
Is Liz gonna run again?
no, I'm quite sure. She has other interests at this time, I think. I don't
Okay.
think she's coming back.
Very good.
So, it is currently 9:02 p.m. and I adjourn the meeting, with knowledge that, the next meeting will be scheduled for Tuesday, May 27th at 7 p.m. here in the Slade Building. Thank you for your time.
Alright, well, thank you.